Hey, welcome to the Healing She Got Faith show. I am Lily. I am the founder of Healing She Got Faith, and I am the host of the Healing She Got Faith talk show. Healing She Got Faith is an organization that was created for adults who are dealing with grief and or on their self-love journey. During this talk show, we talk about grief, healing, self-love, but overall, we are encouraging you to love you the way you love the world, okay? So we thank you all for tuning in. Happy Monday. It is May 6th, so welcome to May, first week of May, which is also Mental Health Awareness Month. Which if you watch the video on YouTube, you'll see I have my Mental Health Matters t-shirt. We are not late today or this week. So welcome to episode 119. We are on time, which it's been a struggle the last couple of weeks, but we are here. This is episode 119. We are still in our grief season series, Walking Through Healing, part 3. So this has been a series that I've been personally enjoying because it's more so of just audio journals of me. Just to be quite honest, right now I'm kind of in between doing something. So like I don't feel the best as far as like being presentable on camera, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to be on time. And so hopefully I'm not fidgety, because when I don't feel like I'm presentable, I tend to get fidgety. And so hopefully I can stay on track. If you're listening to this on a podcast, nothing that I said actually matters. Anyways, happy Monday, happy May. Welcome to episode 19. And welcome to Mental Health Awareness Month, which is a really, really big deal, especially in my organization. Mental health is so very important. Today, that's what we are going to talk about. I'm going to bring out a couple of statistics, resources. And also, too, we're just going to talk about our mental health. Well, when I say I mean my mental health journey. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the icebreaker. Welcome to the icebreaker segment of the Healing She Got Faith talk show. Here we pull affirmation cards from different affirmation decks. We read them and we say if they resonate with us, why or why not. This is our one and only icebreaker. We do it at conferences, professional developments. We do it on the podcast, obviously. And really, it's just to get us to start talking about ourselves and to get comfortable. We are here to promote having a safe space. And so while you're here with Healing She Got Faith, we want you to feel safe enough to speak about where it is that you are in life. We are your safe space. Right, welcome to episode 119's icebreaker. I decided to pull from the dream cards today because right before I recorded this episode, I accepted a summer position that is actually a position I've wanted for a long time. Yeah, I don't know if I'll talk about it, maybe, but things come full circle, and yeah. So anyways, I wanted to keep that up because life has been hard for me professionally in my career. It's caused a lot of depression and just, I guess, disappointment. And I think like right now I'm just in the season of like transition, of just being accepting of transitions, and also to not worry about the future. Like I think that's a big thing. Like people are always like, what do you want to do? I want everybody in the world to know it is okay if you do not know what you want to do. It is okay if you have no desire or aspirations but to be present and live in the moment. We live in such a society that's like, what's next? If there's nothing next, that's okay. And I'm just kind of in that season right now. Like there is nothing next. Like I've done a lot in my 32 years of living, and I think it's okay to not have a plan. I think there's a lot that goes into that too, but I just want to say that, especially with mental health awareness, it is okay if you do not have a dream job, a dream career, a dream spouse. It is okay if like you used to have all these lists like I did, and time after time, disappointment came, and so you were just like, forget it. I'm not about to be doing this. So that's okay. So I picked two cards. The first one says, don't force things to happen when you want them to happen. Let things unfold when you and the world are ready for them. Be patient. This is right on time. This is right on time. Cause I be forcing things. And part of that is because I don't want to be lonely. I don't want to be in survival. I don't want to. It's just a lot. I just don't want to. And because of that, I still end up being those things because I'm forcing it. So yeah. Don't force things to happen when you want them to happen. Let things unfold when you and the world are ready for them. Patient. Being patient is hard. Being patient is hard. It really, really is. And I think like for me, I have to just remember this world ain't like me, and it's not a lot of people that's like me. I was watching the Amanda Seales interview on Club Shay Shay, and there was a common theme that she kept saying. Like, she kept saying, like, the common thing that we're coming to is I expect me at other people. Like, how I protect other people, I expect them to protect me. That interview changed my life. I know that sounds so corny, but that interview changed my life because I felt a lot of what Amanda was saying, like just being misunderstood and just being deemed as problematic, and like everybody loves you, right? Until it's time to protect you. And I think like for people who truly know and accept who they are, it is really hard for us to be there. Like some people are okay with like, well, I'm just gonna play the game to fit in, or I'm just gonna, and then you have like people like me that's like, no, like I'm not gonna change myself because you want me to. Like I'm not gonna change myself because if it's your vision of who you are. Like I love who I am. I was just telling somebody the other day, I enjoy being sober because I love my personality. I love who I am. Um I also too struggle with who I am because like I'm so loving and just love people. I love creating community and I love like just seeing people win. And sometimes the only thing people have to say to me is like, what's next? Like so anyways, don't force things to happen when you want them to happen. Let things unfold when you and the world are ready for them. Be patient. I think right now, and that it definitely is being patient in my relationships, in my career. There are people that like I really just like want us to have a good relationship, but we just don't. Um, in relationships I get blamed for a lot. Like, oh, you do too much. Oh, you this. Oh, you that. But like in reality, most of my relationship consists of people dumping on me, like me literally being a trash can. And when they decide to have better lives, and when they decide that their life is great, like I don't normally hear from them anymore. And so now I'm at a place where like I'm not planning anything. I'm not reaching out. I'm just done. I'm done. Like, how they say, if somebody's on your heart, reach out to them. No, I'm not. If you have a dream about them, text them. No, fuck y'all. Like, I'm not doing it because I've been doing it and y'all deem me as annoying. When it really, I just want to love you. And I can't force you to allow me to love you. And so, um, yeah, I'm just at that place. I can't force it. Whatever's meant to be will be. Whoever's meant to be here will be here. It's definitely a patient game because I be crying, I be sad. Um, but nevertheless, it's a patience game. That's how you learn how to have patience. Okay, the second card says if a previous negative experience seems true to you and stands in the way of your dreams, ask yourself, is this really the truth, or could I look at it from another angle? Could I allow my dreams to come true despite my history? I literally just text somebody like, I'm a little pessimistic. And I am. Like, I'm a little jaded because life. But I'm back in therapy. I'm back in therapy after a couple months. And we talk a lot about self-sabotage because when things don't go right, I tend to just give up on myself. Now, I would never give up on anybody else. Like, even the worst of the worst, I would never. But when it comes a little on me, I'm quick. But the truth is that, like, I have been hurt. And the hurt has taken over. And I've been hurt by, like, some of the people I love the most. And I feel like my whole life I've been forced to look at things from a different angle. Like, oh, you weren't homeless. You had people you could sleep on their couch. Like, always looking at life as the glass is half full. Um, you know, but like, if you've been listening to this podcast, I have an issue with that because sometimes we just have to realize like life just really sucks, and like no matter what you do, it is what it is, and we have to stop like positive. What's it called? Positively gaslighting ourselves, right? Like that is when, like when people are like good vibes only. Like no, that doesn't exist. Like bad vibes exist. Bad things exist. No, you don't have to deal with everything, but like sometimes you're just really going to have a bad day. Um, you know, I am that person that I'll cry, I'll throw a tantrum, I'll say and do whatever, but like at the end of the day, like I'm gonna get the shit done. And I think that throws people off too. Like I feel like people will say you're one of the only friends that like says they're gonna do something, go do it. And I'm gonna cry and I'm gonna throw attention. But like really what I be asking for is like just support and love. Like I feel like the people that I want to be there the most are just not there. But then I see these same people like go and do everything with everyone else, and it's just heartbreaking for me. And I get angry. As positive as I am, I get angry. Because why? Like I feel that some of my friends really don't enjoy hanging out with me. Like I want to have fun too. I want to go outside. I don't always like. I get so many friends are like, oh, we could just go to your building and sit. For what? Why we can't go to Top Golf? Why we can't go out to eat? You do that with your other friends. You go to the club with your other friends. You go to the bar with your other friends. Why? Because I don't like the bar. I don't like the club. I would rather go do an activity. Like I want to go to Dave and Buster's. I want to go to Main Event. I want to go to Top Golf. I want to try a new skill. Let's go to a pottery class. Let's go to a hookah lounge. Like why? Because I want to do stuff like that. Because I don't want to go to a bar. Like there was one friend. And to this day, I feel bad because I missed her birthday because she had it at a bar. But like, I didn't go because she literally called me and cried to me about how she didn't want to have a birthday party at the bar because she was only doing it because that's what her family does for every birthday. That's what they do. They go to the bar, they get drunk, they get high, they dance, they twerk, they do all that. And she was like, I don't want to do that. And so she cried and also talked about how she didn't have no money, and then turned around and spent like $400-500 on a booth. Turned around, had all these family members there. They had fun, but she didn't have fun, and I was like, that's why I didn't go, because you called me and told me you didn't want that, and why would I go in support of that? Like the energy wouldn't have been good, because I'm the type of friend be like, let's go, leave them here, let's go. It's St. Louis, we got stuff to do. Like I straight like going to the bar at like 4 o'clock in the evening. Okay, like I like going to a nice happy hour and then going home. Um, but could I look at it from a different angle? I think like in my career, could I look at it from a different angle? Everything is timing. Things just kind of happen. Everything is everything just kind of works its way out. But I still have permission to be upset and be sad. Everything, like, two things can exist at the same time. I can be upset and frustrated and life still be working its way out. And I think that's the important key. And so, yeah, there is a different angle I could look at it. Am I going to be pessimistic? Sometimes. I mean, this is just part of life. Like, I'm not always going to be 100% gung-ho about everything, but I can work on it. And in therapy, we're working through that because I can't have a negative attitude. And that is something that I know about myself now. Is just, how can I fix it? What can I do to better myself? And that therapy will come into place and help me figuring that out. Like, what does that look like? So, yeah, I think that's the icebreaker. Let's go ahead and go to the topic of the day, which is walking through healing part 3. So I will see y'all over there. Welcome to the topic segment of the Healing She Got Faith talk show. In this portion of the episode, we discuss the topic of the day, which is the title of this episode. So we really pride ourselves on talking about grief, healing, being present, and just having an opportunity to be safe enough to be who you are. I hope in this episode you're able to take it with you. And I hope you're able to give yourself permission to heal the way you need to heal. We love you, but as always, love you the way you love the world. Enjoy the topic. All right, welcome to episode 119's topic of the day, which is walking through healing. And today we are walking through healing part 3. And today we're mostly going to be talking about mental health, which I think those two cards from the icebreaker really helped start out. Because as I was talking, if you notice, I was hesitant because I was just getting all these thoughts in my head about, like, man, a lot of this has to do with mental health. And so let's talk about it. So from May 1st to May 31st is Mental Health Awareness. And so I am on the National Council.org. And they say May is Mental Health Awareness Month, a national observance started in 1949 by Mental Health America to bring attention to the importance of mental well-being. Across the country, individuals, organizations step up to raise awareness of and to help address the challenges faced by people living with mental health conditions. So May is a month where we literally bring awareness to mental health. And throughout later in the show, we'll talk about the difference between mental health versus mental illness. Also, too, I just want to give you a couple stats. And so, like, I'm a researcher at heart. I love research. I love stats. I love seeing numbers and the quantified things, because so many times, like, where we just feel so good and we just are, like, so good about mental health. But let's look at a couple of stats that I am getting from the nationalcouncil.org. Okay. It says 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness each year. 1 in 5. So for every 5 people that you see, one of them, at least one of them, is experiencing a mental illness. Now, pay attention to the wording that I am using. I didn't say experience mental health each year. I said 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness each year. So if you see 5 people, one of those 5 people has a mental illness that they are dealing with or living with. Only 47.2% of U.S. adults with mental illness received treatment in 2021, which that is a crazy status, because 47.2% of U.S. adults with mental illness received treatment in 2021. If you think about 2021, that was right after the pandemic. And it was a lot of mental illness. And if only 47.2 received treatment, that's really low. 1 in 20 U.S. adults experience serious mental illness each year. Only 65.4% of U.S. adults with serious mental illness received treatment in 2021. This 2021, that is ridiculous. Like, we were in the pandemic. Everybody should have been having like some type of resource. Like, that should have been available during that time. And the fact that it wasn't, and the fact that these numbers are so low is crazy. 1 in 6 U.S. youth, youth have a mental health condition, but only half receive treatment. That is a podcast in itself. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins by age 14. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins at the age of 14, and 75% by the age of 24. Yeah, these stats are absolutely bonkers. So, those are a couple stats about mental health awareness and why Mental Health Awareness Month is such a big deal. Now, I found let me see. Okay, so Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, they had a article, and it says highlights for 2022 National Survey on Drug Use and Health. I'm not going to go through everything, but they do have a couple of mental illness stats. Okay, so this one is major depressive episodes among adolescents. So major depressive episodes is what we would think about is like your, I guess, like your typical ideology of like what a depressive episode is. So like, can't get up, can't function, stuck in bed. I mean, there's so much more that goes into that. But when we say major depressive episode, but this is among adolescents. So adolescents is like pretty much below 25. And it might be lower than that actually. It really just depends on who you asking. Among adolescents aged 12 to 17 in 2022, 19.5% or 4.8 million people had a past year major depressive episode, and 14.6% or 3.6 million people had a past year major depressive episode with a severe impairment. So that means that we had 4.8 million young people between the ages of 12 to 17 in the year of 2022 who had a major depressive episode, and 3.6 million people had a major depressive episode with a severe impairment, which means like they were severely hurt because of their major depressive episode. Adolescents aged 12 to 17 in 2022 with a past year major depressive episode were more likely than those without a past year major depressive episode to have used most illicit drugs in the past year. An estimated 20.1%, no, I read it wrong. An estimated 26.1% of adolescents aged 12 to 17 with a major depressive episode used drugs in the past year, compared with 11.5% of those without. So basically, our young people who were experiencing major depressive episodes were actively using drugs and more than likely to cope. So that's something to think about. Now we have mental illness among adults. Among adults age 18 or older in 2022, 23.1% or 59.3 million people had any mental illness in the past year. The percentage of adults age 18 or older with any mental illness in the past year was highest among young adults age 18 to 25. 36.2% or 12.6 million people, followed by adults age 26 to 49, then by adults age 50 or older. What I'm reading when I'm reading this is our young people are suffering. People under the age of 50 are suffering, and our young people are suffering the worst. And as a person who I fall into, let me see how they worded it. Oh, it just says adults 26 to 49. I'm 32, so I'm considered the adult. So they have adolescents, young adults, and adults. So I'm just considered an adult. And then they have adults 50 and over. So what I'm reading is our young people are suffering. We have the highest in 2022, the most people who suffered were our 18 and older, so 18 to 25. Our young people are suffering. Our young adults are suffering. That is scary. And that is ridiculous. This is the prime of their life where they should be having fun, where they should be discovering themselves. And what's happening is mental illness is taking over, and they're having to find coping mechanisms, which more than likely is drugs or things that can hurt them even more than what they already are hurt. In 2022, 6% of adults aged 18 or older had serious mental illness in the past year. The percentage of adults aged 18 or older with serious mental illness was highest among young adults aged 18 to 25, followed by adults aged 26 to 49, then by ages 50 or older. So again, our young people are having serious mental illness, and our young adults are suffering the most in the serious mental illness. Nearly half of young adults aged 18 to 25 in 2022 had either an, I don't know the acronym. Okay, well, that's okay. I think we get the point. We're suffering. No matter the age, we're suffering because even they have statistics in here about adults 50 and older, and so the percentages are still high. And you would think after going through a pandemic where people suffered that we would have more access, that we would see there are so many mental health organizations in this world. Let me not say that, in this country, because I can't speak for the world, but I can speak for this country, and we're still suffering. We're still seeing an increase in mental illness, severe, major depressive disorders. We're still seeing that. That is ridiculous. By this time, we should have cures and resources. Like, we should not be suffering this much. So, all right. So now let's look at mental health versus mental illness. So everyone has everyone has mental health, but not everyone receives a diagnosis involving a mental illness. This is from healthline.com. So mental health, we all have it. Mental health is literally the health of your body, just like we all have a physical health. Physical health in the term doesn't necessarily mean we have bad physical health or good physical health. It's just that it's physical health. So we have mental health. Mental illness is when we have a severe and more than likely a diagnosis. So like when we well, I'll get into that. So the best way to think about mental illness is to think about like a diagnosis type of thing. These and they yeah. So mental illnesses are diagnosable mental health conditions. The definitions of mental health and mental illness will vary depending on who you ask, which again, it's medical. So it really it depends on the research, it depends on the doctor, it depends on the focus, it depends on who and what you are talking to. The answer will never be the same, which also sucks. Like, that's not always the best thing. It really depends on who you're talking to. So what is mental illness? Mental illness, also called mental health conditions or mental disorders, are diagnosable conditions. They often involve a highly distressing change, in your thinking, emotions, or behaviors, and can affect how you perform some daily activities. To receive a diagnosis involving any mental health condition, a mental health professional will interview you to learn about the symptoms you experience, how long they've been happening, how severe they are, potential causes of your symptoms. There are also assessments that you can get. So, like, I just work at a part-time job. If you've been listening, it's the part-time job I recently just left. And when we had students come in and talk to us, we did have an assessment that we could give them to assess whether they had major depressive episodes. So that way we can go ahead and start a process of contacting parents, contacting counselors, referring them out, and things like that. Many people live with mental health conditions. More than 50% of all U.S. people will receive a diagnosis involving a mental health condition. I myself have received one. I was diagnosed with situational depression when I was in college, which was very common. Well, I'll say this: situational depression was not very common when I got diagnosed, but as research became more available, it was starting to be known that our college students, our young adults, were suffering from situational depression because of the pressures of society, college, finding a job, figuring out yourself, and things of that nature. I wonder what the statistics are with COVID, because that was all pre-COVID. So I wonder what the statistics are post-COVID. So maybe the next episode, I'll look that up. In 2019, 1 in 8 people worldwide lived with a mental health condition. Depression and anxiety disorders were the most common. Other common mental health conditions include, but are not limited to, bipolar disorder, substance use disorder, schizophrenia, obsessive compulsive disorder, eating disorders, post traumatic stress disorder, neurodevelopment disorders like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, autism spectrum disorder, personality disorders. Um, During the pandemic, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. I was also still dealing with the death of my mother. And once things kind of settled down, I, yes, I was in a pandemic, but I was mostly having anxiety about death because of my mother. Like I had just watched her die. I watched her last heartbeat. Beat of her heartbeat. I don't know how I said that. I watched her take her last breath. Had to plan the funeral. I was obsessing over death, and it was starting to cause me anxiety because my heart would start racing. I would start having all these issues. I was really, really struggling with anxiety during this time, on top of the pandemic happening. Also, too, there was my depression disorder. Like I was moody, I was irritable, I slept all the time, I had no desire. I was literally just walking on earth. Part of that was grief, because depression can be a symptom of grief. So part of what I was experiencing was grief. But eventually, when the grief wasn't being handled the right way, it turned into a full-fledged depressive episode and anxiety episode. So I was on anxiety medicine for a while. Um because I was very skeptical about anxiety medicine, I took a very baby dosage. I didn't necessarily see the difference in myself, but like at the time I was living with my aunt and she could see the difference. And then also too, when I moved back to St. Louis from New York, I had a therapist who broke it down to me. Like I was like, yeah, I stopped taking my medicine because I didn't see the difference. And she was like, well, I think a lot of times as doctors, we don't really prescribe you the right thing. Also too, we don't explain it the right way. She was like, so you probably thought you were taking a happy pill, which when we think of happy pills, that really is to put a chemical in your brain to like disrupt the negative hormones, or is it a hormones? I'm blanking on words right now. To disrupt the emotions in your brain. But with anxiety medicine, a lot of those medicines are to get you back to normal. So you won't necessarily be happy per se, but to get you back to normal. Like, were you starting to wake up at your regular times? Were you starting to do like things around the house again? Were you starting to go back to your normal day-to-day living? That's what a lot of those medicines were for, not necessarily to make you happy, which was something I had to learn. So this article also talks about language matters, and so I want to go over that as well. While mental illness is still well known and used, many people prefer to use mental conditions. This helps us separate further from stigmatizing phrases like mentally ill. To be honest, I haven't heard anybody say mental health conditions. Not saying the article is wrong. In my personal life, I just haven't heard that. What I tend to hear is mental health. I tend to hear people use the term mental health. They're not saying mental health illness. It's just like, oh yeah, I struggle with mental health, or I have a mental health disorder, or my mental health is bad. Like, I tend to hear those type of words versus like mental health condition. The terms mental health and mental, no, I'm sorry. The terms mental illness and mental disorder are still used widely, and opinions differ on how acceptable they are. Most communities do suggest avoiding terms such as mentally disabled or handicapped, mentally ill, crazy, insane, nuts, or psycho. And I said crazy. I'm really trying to break the habit of saying crazy. Um, and I really need to like open my vocabulary to like choose a different word, because crazy does have a like a stigma to go to, and it's just not a nice word, to be honest. But honestly, in mental health, it really is up to what you decide, what type of language you decide. Like, when I went to go see Kennedy Ryan at her book tour, she talked about how she specifically used the word autistic. Now, when I was in school, I was getting my bachelor's of social work, and then I was going to get like an emphasis in applied behavior analyst. Um, and I was taught we don't use the term autistic. You say that person has autism. But Kennedy Ryan said that when she wrote her latest book, she actually hired an autistic editor, and she had some beta readers who are autistic, and she purposely used autistic because she actually went into the community of people who have autism and got their point of view and got their words. And so she didn't just make it up as an able mm, as an able person, I guess. This is what I'm going to say. Like, she actually went and did her own research and got people and got advice from people who are actually living with this diagnosis, right? Um, bringing back bringing back up the Amanda Seals on Club Shay Shay interview as well. Amanda Seals talks about being diagnosed as an adult as a Black woman with autism, which is not common at all. It is very hard for Black women specifically to even get an autism diagnosis. It is much easier for boys and white boys to get diagnosed than any other demographic of people. And so it really is up to you. It's really up to your culture, up to your preference, up to what you feel comfortable with. Some people have a problem with the term autistic. Some people have a problem with saying persons with autism. It really is up to the person. And so if you are a person who is living with a diagnosis, it is really up to you to educate people on what words do you feel comfortable with? What terms would you rather people use? Because somebody like me, I wouldn't know. And I would ask, like, what do you want me to say? Do you want me to say autistic? You don't like the word autistic? Okay, give me something else. Give me something else to work with. According to the Center of Disease for Disease Control and Prevention, mental health includes your social, emotional, psychological well being. It's more than simply the absence of mental illness. The World Health Organization, also known as WHO, describes good, quote unquote, mental health as someone being capable of effectively coping with stressors, learning and working well, contributing to their community. Still, mental health is complex, and your mental health will be unique to you. What looks like good mental health for one person won't be the same for someone else. Remember, you can have a good mental health while living with a mental health condition. Remember that mental health is health, and it's just as important as your physical, an important part of your overall well-being. And I agree with that. I agree with everything that they said in that last paragraph. I think for me, um, having a quote unquote good mental health has always been up and down. Um, I tend to struggle with what is the right way for me, because I think it shifts. I think it changed. I think it's dependent on what's causing me my mental illness episodes, like what's causing my depressive episodes. Um, a lot of what a lot of what caused my mental health episodes was not having the freedom to say, like, I'm really sad. and having to be forced to always be the strong person, having to be forced to always be the person that is positive, to be in that trash can to people. Most of my mental health episodes have came from, and I'm using mental health episodes because I'm kind of combining my depression and anxiety, but it has come from like just doing too much. Like when I think about my last job and I felt like I was having a manic episode, it was because I literally wasn't doing what I wanted to do. Like for like this was a lot of one-on-one work, and it was back to back to back, like there wasn't any process time. I don't operate like that. So when I'm forcing myself to do that, I'm not growing. And also too, I'm not growing anyway. There is no benefit to me doing this. Like it's different. Like if I'm working out, like today, I worked out, I'm on my period, and I had to push myself to like do certain things. I did eventually listen to my body when my body was like, okay, like we're doing way too much, which was fine. Um, but like if I'm working out and I'm pushing myself, there's an end goal to that, right? Like if I started off with 5 pounds, in the first round, second round, I'm doing 10 pounds. And the third round, I try to push myself to either continue to do 10 pounds or go up to 12 pounds. Like, there's a benefit in that, like a mental, a physical, and emotional benefit in that. Like, there's chemicals that are being released when I do that. But when I'm forcing myself to be in a career that I don't want to be in, that's causing burnout. That's causing, um, that's causing burnout, that's causing just other things that just don't exist. And it's just it's causing too much. And so a lot of my depressive episodes and sadness and fatigueness comes from not doing what fulfills my cup. Yes, that is the issue for me to deal with, but it is the reality of why I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. When I'm constantly doing stuff and showing up for people, but then like when I ask people to show up for my birthday and they don't show up, that is cause for just a lot of loneliness that will cause that anxiety and depression for me in my life. Most of the time that I haven't wanted to be alive on earth was because I was tired of the relationships I had in my life. I was tired of continuing to do things and feeling like I don't really know why I'm doing what I'm doing. So, and a part of that came from therapy, learning my family origins, learning who I am, accepting who I'm becoming, accepting who I am. A lot of that came from therapy and having a mental health professional, a licensed therapist, pour into me and pour into what exactly that I am um going through, having that extra support. Therapy has helped me tremendously because I've needed that sounding board. I've needed that, hey, Lisa, like it's not that serious. You can't depend on the people, because I grew up a certain way. Like a lot of what I've go through was came from my family origins. And so when we talk about generational curses, it could be as simple as that. Like, how did you grow up in your household? Like, why are you so giving? And it was because you had to share everything in your household. You were overlooked as a child. Like a lot of what my therapist talks about with me is like 90% of my life, I was like sitting here in all my relationships, school, um, school, romantic friendship. I'm like, hey, look at me. I'm so good. I'm such a good friend. I'm this, I'm that, because like I didn't get that attention. I was very much overlooked as a child. And it grew into my adulthood, which caused a lot of depressive and anxiety and anxious episodes. So, in my mental health journey, it has really been learning myself and accepting myself for who I am. And I think when I started this series, Walking Through Healing, there's a realization in me that that I had to accept. Like, this is who I am. This is who I'm growing to be. Like, I think a lot about my exes. And I'm thinking about my one ex in particular. And I just always remember him saying, like, you changed. And I was like, you were in love with a 17-year-old broken ass girl. You are now, I think at the time I was like 28, 27. I was somewhere between 25 and 28 when I was with him. You are now dealing with a 25-year-old who has my frontal lobe is now here, so I'm not going to be that same 17-year-old. But I had to remember his trauma happened when he was 17, 18. So he stuck. And some of us, the reason why we act the way we do is because we're stuck in that trauma age. And what that means is we're stuck at the age that our trauma happened to us. With him, it was very traumatic for him not to go and do certain things at the age of 18. It was very traumatic. I want to say like maybe a baby was born, maybe some abortions were there was I can't remember because I haven't spoke to him, and that relationship was so long ago. Also, too, part of my mental health journey is I have suppressed a lot, so I don't remember a lot because I tend to suppress it because I don't want to talk about it, because I don't feel safe enough to talk about it. Going through like one of my most recent situationships, just to be quite frank, like having to accept that like my place in that life, but also too like for both of us going from like being so in love and like really really wanting each other to, I think our time has come. And not even saying like maybe it's just our time, because I do see us being really good friends, but like there's going to be adjustments in that, and we're both going to shift and see different sides of each other, because we went from really really wanting each other to we cool, it ain't no beef, it's cool. um Another situation, I didn't really know the guy that much, but I know like we tried to connect, we tried to date, it didn't go anywhere. But because I was where I was at, I was like, oh, we just don't match. And he was like, no. But I had to understand from his perspective, like he's tired of being heartbroken. He's probably still heartbroken from the last person. Um, in my opinion, I just felt like he wasn't doing anything. Is that right or wrong? I don't know. I'm just basing it off of what he has told me. Um, like I'm just basing it off of that. But also too, like that was the first time in my mental health journey where I was like very accepting of like, oh, we just don't mesh. Like that's okay. Like that is what this world is about. Like you date people, you figure out, are y'all cool, y'all not cool, y'all just don't mesh. We just not each other's persons. And I think it's been hard for me to be accepting because I always want everything to work. And I've been forcing, and the card said earlier, like, don't force it. And I've been forcing it, and forcing it doesn't allow me to be happy or to be my authentic self. There has been much of my life where I put on facades because I wanted to be accepted. And that is a lot. That's a cause for mental illness because you're not living with your authentic self. So, yeah, it's my mental health journey. But yeah, I think man, my gears are going, which is why I'm like, huh. But I will say this: walking through healing, no matter what type of healing you're walking through, it's all a journey. It's not a race. When I was working out this morning, I had to tell myself that, like, when I was like, oh, I should be able to do this, and it was like, Lisa, you're not doing this for anybody else. You're doing this for you. It's not a race. You showed up, you did what you could, and we move forward from that. So yeah, I'm enjoying this journey of walking through healing. I feel like this time around it's much more different because I feel that all my facades have fallen, and I'm very accepting of things that I weren't accepting of, and like just accepting that I'm in a transitional period, and what is going to work is going to work and what is not is not. And realizing I don't have control, and realizing that what's meant to be will be and what's not won't. And I don't have to force it. That's what the card said. I don't have to force it. And so that's where I'm at in life. So that is episode 119. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thank you. We are going to end on our affirmation. I'll catch you over there. All right, so you are now about to hear our affirmation. I want to give you an affirmation to carry for the week. So from Monday to Monday, you at least have an affirmation that you are repeating to yourself every day. She got faith. Listen, we want to give you affirmation to get through the week. So enjoy. All right, welcome to episode 119's affirmation. And to be honest, I really don't have an affirmation for today. I was sitting here kind of doodling and was like, did not get affirmation today. But what I will say, and we can end on this, is mental health is still health. And you are not alone. And what I will say is that your health matters. All of your health. Not just mental health, not just physical, emotional, financial, like your health. It really does matter. And I want to encourage you in this season, in this time, to seek help and to seek support because you deserve it. You deserve it and you're worth it. And so I hope that helps you. I don't really know that it is a affirmation, but what I will say is your mental health journey is important and it's so worth it to invest in it. I love you, but love you the way you love the world, and I will catch y'all later. All right, we have came to the end of our show. I really appreciate you for listening and sticking with us and coming every Monday at 3 p.m. Central to hang out with us. I appreciate you guys. I can't thank you enough to my listeners, followers, everybody, friends, family who loves and believes in everything that I'm doing. I really, really thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you, but I always want you to remember to love you the way you love the world. And I'll catch you next Monday. Bye, guys.